So, Tales of the Walking Dead Season 1 has come to a close. I have not reviewed episode 5 or 6, so today we're going to be talking about both of them. So, of course, spoiler warnings for probably 5 and 6, and more than likely the entirety of the first season of Tales of the Walking Dead. You've been warned. So, to start things off, we will start with episode 5. The reason I'm doing episode 5 and episode 6 in the one review is because after watching episode 5, I really had nothing to talk about. This is probably my least favourite episode of the series. This is one of those episodes that had an actor I actually recognise. Of course, I don't know the actor's name, but he played A-Train in The Boys, so I was excited to see this guy move over into the Walking Dead universe. The trailer looked interesting. It looked like a murder where the murderer or the innocent person, whatever, didn't know what had gone down. So I was excited to see what that was going to be. I also thought the community that we had seen in the trailers, just the kind of the backgrounds and everything, looked very interesting. But then when it came to actually watching the episode, I was bored out of my mind. It could be that I was exhausted as well. I haven't watched it since then, but there was nothing in this episode that had me interested. There was nothing that gave me any enjoyment. The episode first starts off very similar to the movie Swiss Army Man with Daniel Radcliffe, where he's handcuffed to a walker who's walking around with him, communicating with him, which I thought all that was very odd. And then it goes on, and then he's trying to picture and put everything together, all the knowledge he has of what happened. He's trying to slowly put things together, later revealing what happened. And it's just, there was really nothing about this episode that stands out. There's really nothing about this episode that was memorable. To say I enjoyed it is a way overstatement. I didn't enjoy this episode. This episode, I think it came out a week and a half, and then I watched it, and I was in no hurry to watch it. This episode really put a bad taste in my mouth with Tales of the Walking Dead, where with episode 5, prior to this, there was only an episode and a half I enjoyed. So I was going into this, after watching this, very disappointed, not really interested in episode 6. Took a while for me to watch episode 6 too, but episode 5, don't really have a lot to say about it. I gave it 1.5 out of 5. I feel like that score is generous. There's just really nothing to not only talk about with this episode, but also nothing of note in this episode. Like, I'm looking now, it's 2 minutes 25 seconds talking about this episode, and I feel like I've stretched it out as much as I could because I honestly have really nothing to say about this episode. But episode 6, judging by the trailers we got, seemed interesting. The fact that this was left to be the finale also made me think it'd be interesting, just because you can put these episodes in whatever order you want. I thought by having this be the finale, it must be not only the best episode, but also the most intriguing episode. But this episode, similar to episode 2 with the Groundhog Day episode, this episode feels like it's not in the Walking Dead universe. It feels like Tales of the Walking Dead, by the name, by the universe, where these episodes are supposedly in the same universe as the TV series. As far as I know, it was advertised that these characters could, we know they're not going to show up in the regular show, but they could show up in the regular show because they're in the same universe. But episodes like this and episode 2 really feel like they had a good idea for an episode, but then they're like, oh crap, this is a Walking Dead show, so we have to throw Walking Dead stuff into this episode. Because this episode is a paranormal exercise or episode, very similar to movies like The Conjuring or Paranormal Activity. There's stuff in this episode where they just throw walkers in. It feels like they had an idea for this. It's not even a great Paranormal Activity episode. There's nothing fantastic about it. There's a few things moving that were creative, but there's nothing about this episode that stands out as a great episode for a Paranormal Activity show. But then when you say that this is a Walking Dead episode, it doesn't work. I don't get the need and the love they are putting into doing all these big, massive, weird, out-of-the-box episodes, because they do not fit in with the Walking Dead universe. There's never been anything like this in the Walking Dead universe. You can look at episode 6 or 7, I think, of the normal Walking Dead series when Connie was in that house, but that got explained the way that the reason those people or those walkers were acting that way is because they were human beings who had just gone way too far. They're way too far gone. They were like the Whisperers times 10. Or no, not the Whisperers, the Hunters times 10. They had started off being cannibals and then they lost their humanity as they went along, running around on all fours. And it felt like this episode, I remember going into the episode, everyone was going, what the hell are these new walkers? We saw the walker standing on top of the dresser, so everyone was excited saying, what the hell is this? But then this episode here does something similar to that, where it's doing something different, but it's these two people who are in a house that the owner recently died, and then they feel like the house is being possessed by this woman. All this stuff is happening randomly. You see people who they suppose were dead coming back to life, talking to them. You can't tell if it's in their head or if it's actually happening, and because of this, it's not a great Walking Dead episode. If this was I don't even know what other shows you could point towards. I've never seen American History X, but is this something that could be in there? I don't know. But you'd be kind of go, oh, okay, that makes sense for that type of show. But for Tales of the Walking Dead show, it doesn't work. This show is meant to be a zombie apocalypse TV show where every episode follows a different group of survivors or different atmosphere. But the fact that episodes like this and episode 2 do not work. They don't work. I hope they take the negative criticism that I've given, and from what I've heard, a lot of other people have been giving about this series, and I hope for season 2 they do something better, because there was many points throughout this season that if I wasn't a massive Walking Dead fan, literally beside me I've got a bookshelf where on top I've got figures, and then I've got multiple places for the volumes, the single issues, books, every Walking Dead season Blu-ray, every Fear the Walking Dead series, and the World Beyond season 1. I probably would have given up on it. I'm just such a massive Walking Dead fan. Around episode 3 or 4, I've got a ranking of the 2022 shows, and for a while this was above Fear the Walking Dead season 7, because if you've been on this channel for a while and heard my reviews of Fear the Walking Dead season 7, you know I was not a fan of that season. I thought it was fairly terrible. But after finishing Tales of the Walking Dead, I prefer Fear the Walking Dead, because at least it knew what universe it was in. At least it stayed true to what they set up in this show, where in Tales of the Walking Dead, they were just doing whatever the hell they liked, and for a Walking Dead series, it felt like a middle finger to the fans, just because they were taking all the stuff that's been established for 12 years now and just doing whatever the hell they like. And I really, really was not a fan of that. But in positive words, The Walking Dead's back next Sunday. So if you want to hear my thoughts on the final 8 episodes of The Walking Dead, make sure you click the subscribe button so you can come back and hear all my thoughts on that. I am very excited for The Walking Dead to come back just to see how it ends, but I also don't want it to come back, because once it comes back, we've got 8 weeks and then it's over. So as of today, we have 9 weeks left until we see the finale of The Walking Dead, and I'm excited to see how it ends, but I also really, really do not want it to end. This is my favourite show, and I'm very sad to know that it's coming to an end soon. But again, if you want to hear my future thoughts on the finale of The Walking Dead, and then next year with all these spin-offs we have coming, we've got season 8 of Fear the Walking Dead, the Rick and Michonne show, Dead City, the Maggie and Negan show, the Daryl Dixon show, and what I'm assuming is Tales of the Walking Dead season 2. If you want to hear my thoughts on anything Walking Dead in the future, click on the subscribe button. And as always, thanks for listening.